Netflix has officially shifted gears. From childhood legends to brutal video game adaptations, from major novel projects to surprise sci-fi and thriller films, 20 massive projects are on the way. This list includes huge brands like Narnia, Gears of War, BioShock, Assassin's Creed, and Gundam. Some of them will be a real test for Netflix, while others could surprise us from places we never expected. If you're ready, let's move on to the new projects. Number 1. Narnia, The Magician's Nephew. Netflix is getting ready to revive the Narnia universe, and I think this is genuinely huge news. Especially because this movie will directly tell the story of Narnia's creation, which makes it even more special in my eyes. The Magician's Nephew will be a massive, fantastical, and emotional adventure about the beginning of the universe, the first great magic, and the birth of Narnia itself. The cast includes exciting names like Emma Mackey, and major actors like Meryl Streep and Daniel Craig are also rumored to be involved. Honestly, I think Emma Mackey fits this universe incredibly well, because she has an energy that could easily blend into that mystical atmosphere. The fact that Narnia, one of the most special fantasy series of my childhood, is finally coming back after all these years makes me extremely excited. Number 2. Gears of War. One of the most brutal and cinematic universes in gaming is becoming a major Netflix adaptation, and honestly, this news made me really happy. Because Gears of War is not just a game series I love, it has a genuinely special place for me. I can even say it is one of the series that helped me get used to playing games with a controller. The project will first arrive as a live-action movie, and then the universe will expand even further with an adult animated series. The story will focus on humanity's survival war on the planet Sarah against the terrifying underground threat known as the Locust Horde, with characters like Marcus Fenix and Delta Squad caught in the middle of the war. On the writing side, John Spites, known for Dune and Doctor Strange, is involved, and the project is being developed together with the Coalition. If they can properly capture this universe's dirty war atmosphere, heavy weapons, locust threat, and squad spirit, it could become one of Netflix's strongest video game adaptations. Number 3. BioShock. Netflix turning the BioShock universe into a live-action movie is one of the most interesting video game adaptations of recent years. Because BioShock is not just an action-focused game, it tells an incredibly atmospheric and psychologically heavy story inside Rapture, an underwater dystopia collapsing in on itself. The project is being directed by Francis Lawrence, known for the Hunger Games films, and the screenplay is being written by Michael Green, who worked on Logan and Blade Runner 2049. Honestly, seeing Rapture's dark, neon-lit, rusty, and suffocating world in live action excites me, but it also surprises me because I do have some doubts about how well BioShock can work as a movie. Seeing Big Daddies and Splicers brought to life inside that oppressive atmosphere could become one of the most unique films of its genre if the visual quality lands. I already see the BioShock universe as one of the most special atmospheres in gaming, so I really hope it turns out well and we can enjoy watching it. Number 4. Assassin's Creed. Netflix's live-action Assassin's Creed series is one of the video game adaptations I'm most curious about, especially because the story will reportedly take place in ancient Rome, which makes me even happier, since Assassin's Creed 2 is one of my favorite games in the franchise. The series will tell the secret war between the Assassins and the Templars in 64 AD, and the cast includes Lola Pettigrew, Toby Wallace, Zachary Hart, Laura Marcus, Tanzan Crawford, Nabahan Rizwan, Claes Bang, Noomi Rapace, and Sean Harris. We've seen many attempts on the Assassin's Creed side over the years. Some projects were left unfinished, and the movie that came out wasn't really loved by most people. So I'm approaching this project with both hope and caution, because Assassin's Creed is not just a historical story. It includes secret organizations, parkour, assassination culture, the Animus connection, and the unique atmosphere of the games. I hope Netflix truly understands the spirit of the game this time, and gives us a long-running, high-quality Assassin's Creed adaptation that we can watch for years. Number 5. Gundam. Bringing giant robot battles into live action sounds very exciting on paper, but it is also a very risky move. The Gundam movie will tell an original story set in the middle of a major war between Earth and space colonies, focusing on two mech pilots fighting on different sides. The cast includes notable names like Sydney Sweeney, Noah Centineo, Jackson White, Shioli Kutsuna, Nonso Anozie, Michael Mando, and Jason Isaacs. Gundam is not just about giant robots fighting each other. Political conflict, human psychology, and the impact of war on people are also very important parts of this universe. If Netflix can avoid turning this into just a visual effects show and still make us feel the weight of the universe, this could become a truly massive sci-fi movie. I'm especially curious to see how big-budget mech battles will look. Number 6. Minecraft Animated Series. Turning one of the biggest gaming brands in the world into an animated series actually feels like the right choice. Minecraft is built entirely around imagination, exploration, and creating your own adventure. So this universe offers endless possibilities rather than one fixed story. The series will take place in the game's iconic blocky world and will tell an original story with completely new characters. The project is being produced by WildBrain and aims to bring Minecraft's colorful, adventurous spirit into animation. Turning a game like Minecraft into a direct story is not easy, because the game's strength comes from players creating their own stories. But if it is written well, it could become a very fun series that appeals both to children and to the older audience that has played the game for years. I'm especially curious to see how they use the Nether, the End, creepers, and the exploration atmosphere. Number 7, Clash of Clans, Clash Royale. The absurd humor of the Supercell universe is perfect for animation. Clash of Clans and Clash Royale already have a structure that is very suitable for the screen, with colorful characters, village battles, clan rivalries, and constant chaos. The story will follow a barbarian character who is trying to protect his village but can never stay out of trouble, and it will tell the battles of this universe in a more comedic, adventurous, and character-focused way. The most important thing here will be not losing the fun spirit of the games, because this universe is loved not as a serious fantasy world, but for its humor, chaos, and exaggerated characters. If they capture the right tone, this could become a nostalgic series for longtime players and a fun animated show for new viewers. Number 8, Catan. When I heard that Netflix was adapting a board game like Catan into series and different projects, I was pretty surprised. At first glance, it doesn't sound like a very cinematic idea, but once you think about it, you realize there is actually a lot of potential. The project is being developed in both scripted and unscripted formats, and at its center will be resource wars, alliances, trade deals, and the struggle to build power in a new world. If the sneaky trade and strategy wars at the heart of Catan are translated properly to the screen, we could get a very interesting project that works almost like modern power struggles. Still, I can say this is one of the riskiest projects on the list and one of the ones I'm most curious about in terms of how it will turn out. Number 9, Scooby-Doo, Origins. The idea of watching the origin story of the Mystery Incorporated team in live action is pretty nostalgic and interesting. Scooby-Doo. Origins will begin with Shaggy and Daphne getting pulled into a dark mystery that seems supernatural during their final summer at camp, and with Fred and Velma joining in, it will show how the Mystery Inc. team came together. The cast includes McKenna Grace as Daphne, Tanner Hagen as Shaggy, Abby Ryder Fortson as Velma, and Maxwell Jenkins as Fred. And the return of legendary voice actor Frank Welker as Scooby-Doo is also a really nice detail. Scooby-Doo is one of the most familiar brands from our childhood, so getting the right tone in live action is very important. If Netflix can avoid making it feel too artificial and balance mystery, comedy, and light horror properly, we could get a genuinely fun teen mystery series. Number 10, Pride and Prejudice. One of Jane Austen's most iconic love stories is getting ready to return as a new 6-episode series, and I enjoy seeing classic stories adapted again when the cast is right. The series is being developed by Dolly Alderton, while Euros Lynn, known for Heartstopper, will direct. Emma Corrin will play Elizabeth Bennet. Jack Lowden will play Mr. Darcy. And the cast also includes strong names like Olivia Colman, Rufus Sewell, Freya Maver, Jamie Demetriou, Daryl McCormack, Rhea Norwood, Sienna Kelly, Louis Partridge, and Fiona Shaw. The story will once again follow pride, misunderstandings, class differences, family pressure, and the famous romantic tension between Elizabeth and Darcy. Retelling a story like Pride and Prejudice is not easy, because everyone has a different version in their mind, but the Emma Corrin and Jack Lowden casting is very interesting. If the period, atmosphere, costumes, and subtle emotional tension between the characters are handled well, we could get a strong classic adaptation for a new generation. Number 11, Little House on the Prairie. Netflix preparing a new adaptation of Little House on the Prairie feels like a nice move for viewers who miss old-fashioned, warm family dramas. The series is based on the books by Laura Ingalls Wilder and will tell the story of Laura growing up in the American West during the 1800s. Alice Halsey stars in the lead role, and the story will explore not only family life, but also survival, migration, the struggle against nature, and the hardships of people trying to build a new life. Since many shows today are either extremely dark or overly complicated, I like seeing warmer stories with a strong emotional side return. If Netflix does not damage the spirit of the story, this could become a very emotional and high-quality period drama. Number 12, The God of the Woods. This project feels like one of Netflix's darker mystery titles that could stand out. The God of the Woods is adapted from Liz Moore's best-selling novel, and the story begins with the mysterious disappearance of 1-3, Year, old Barbara Van Laar at a summer camp. Maya Hawke plays Judy Luptak, who is at the center of the investigation, while Carrie Condon plays Alice Van Laar, the missing girl's mother. These kinds of disappearance stories can be incredibly gripping when handled well, because the issue is not just the mystery. Family secrets, the characters' pasts, and psychological pressure also come into play. Since I like Maya Hawke's energy in more serious and darker projects, I'm pretty curious about this series. Number 13, The Whisper Man. When you hear about a psychological thriller starring Robert De Niro, your interest naturally goes up. The Whisper Man is adapted from Alex North's novel, and the story begins when a widowed crime writer whose 8-year-old son is kidnapped asks for help from his distant father, a retired police detective. But as the case progresses, this kidnapping connects to a terrifying serial killer case from the past, and the story moves into a much more disturbing place. Alongside Robert De Niro, the cast includes Michelle Monaghan, Adam Scott, Hamish Linklater, Owen Teague, Axton, Luca Porto, and Will Brill. Seeing De Niro in a dark story built around family trauma and a criminal past immediately makes the project feel heavier and more serious. If they can preserve the quiet, unsettling tension of the book, this could become one of Netflix's strongest thriller films. Number 14, The Burrows. When you hear about a new sci-fi mystery series connected to the Duffer Brothers, expectations automatically rise. The Burrows takes place in a peaceful and seemingly perfect retirement community in the New Mexico desert, but underneath it all lies a dark and supernatural mystery. The story will follow older characters who come together after a mysterious event and investigate an unknown threat. The cast includes very strong actors like Alfred Molina, Gina Davis, and Alfre Woodard. The thing that interests me most about the series is that it puts older people at the center instead of young characters, because we don't see that very often in science fiction and mystery. If they can combine the mystery atmosphere of Stranger Things with a completely different age group, this could become a very interesting project. Number 15, Unaccustomed Earth. Unaccustomed Earth, adapted from Jhumpa Lahiri's work, could be interesting for viewers who enjoy more emotional and character-driven stories. The story takes place in an elite Indian American community in Cambridge and revolves around love, belonging, family pressure, and feelings from the past. At the center of the series will be a married woman named Parul Chowdhury and a relationship that changes her life. Shows like this do not grab viewers through action, but through the inner worlds of their characters, and when written well, they can really pull you in. I like that Netflix has recently been leaning into more mature and dramatic stories, so this project could easily reach a different audience. Number 16, Here Comes the Flood. Seeing Denzel Washington and Robert Pattinson in the same project is already attention-grabbing on its own. Here Comes the Flood will begin like a classic bank heist story, but over time, it will become much more complicated with deception, betrayal, and double crosses. The cast also includes Daisy Edgar-Jones, Denai Guerrera, Sean Harris, Moises Arias, and Justin Kirk. Fernando Meirelles is in the director's chair, while the screenplay comes from Simon Kinberg. I already enjoy heist movies, but the cast is what really catches my attention here. Especially with Robert Pattinson's recent choices in darker and more psychologically heavy projects, combined with Denzel Washington's charisma, this could turn into a very high-quality crime film. Number 17, Animals. Animals, directed by and starring Ben Affleck, looks like it will be one of Netflix's darker thriller projects. The film will revolve around a kidnapping case, and as the story progresses, the psychological side of the event will become heavier. The cast includes notable names like Gillian Anderson, Kerry Washington, Stephen Yeun, and Ray Fisher. I think Ben Affleck is a director who can build crime and thriller atmospheres very well. So if this project is combined with the right script, it could become a very gripping thriller. I'm especially curious about this film because I enjoy watching Stephen Yeun in more serious and tense stories. Number 18, The Last House. This is one of the sci-fi thrillers that immediately makes you curious because of its concept. The Last House will tell the story of a family of 4 who wake up one morning and realize they have been sealed inside their own home. They cannot get out. Their resources begin to run low, and they try to understand what is keeping them trapped inside. Greta Lee and Wagner Moura star in the lead roles, while Louis Leterrier is directing. Single-location psychological thrillers can become incredibly tense when handled properly, because all the pressure is placed on the characters. This project could also stand out with both its sci-fi mystery and its psychological family conflicts. Number 19, Quasimodo. The idea of a major period film connected to Victor Hugo sounds pretty interesting. Quasimodo will reinterpret the life of the character said to have inspired The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and the story will take place in Paris before the July Revolution of 1830. While the city struggles with both a cholera outbreak and political chaos, Quasimodo will find himself caught inside an impossible love and major social unrest. Vincent Cassel stars in the lead role, and these kinds of heavy dramatic characters suit him incredibly well. If they build the atmosphere strongly, this could become a visually impressive period film with serious emotional weight. Number 20, The Body. The Body may be one of the strangest but most intriguing projects on this list. The series will tell a dark story that blends teen psychodrama with Catholic horror atmosphere. Quinn Shepard is behind the project, and Riley Keough is also involved as a producer. This feels less like a classic teen series and more like a disturbing project with a heavier psychological side. Especially if they combine religious horror elements with the mental collapse of young characters, it could create a very different atmosphere. Netflix sometimes does very well with risky and stylized projects like this, so I think The Body could be one of the shows that surprises people. So yes, guys, this is generally what Netflix's 20 major upcoming projects look like. Honestly, I think Narnia, Gears of War, BioShock, and Assassin's Creed in particular will be a real test for Netflix. Because these projects already have built-in audiences, and those audiences will pay very close attention to the details. On one side, we have the fantasy legends of our childhood, and on the other side, some of the hardest gaming universes to adapt. I'm very excited for some of them, more cautious about others. But one thing is certain, Netflix is preparing projects that will be talked about a lot in the coming years. So which 3 projects on this list are you looking forward to the most? Make sure to write them in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video, guys.